This is Booked for Drama, where stories burn, hearts break, the tea is always hot and never a part two. Today we're diving into my ex pretended to have amnesia to trick me into getting back together. Let's go. Chapter 1. We broke up a year ago. Out of the blue, my ex-boyfriend, Jack Hart, decided to come back from the dead and text me. Do you remember that lipstick you used to wear when we were together? What was the shade? I'm trying to buy one for my crush. I paused for 2 seconds, then replied. Oh, I forgot. You should ask one of your basketball teammates, he's the one who bought it for me. My phone stayed quiet for about 2 seconds before it started buzzing non-stop. WTF, who? Which teammate? Who the hell is it? Answer me, I'm begging you. I sent him a smirking emoji. None of your business. Friday night. I was happily slurping down my favorite mac and cheese when Jack decided to pop back into my life. Seeing the text light up my phone, I nearly did a 360-degree jump off the couch. Not because I missed him, but because there's a certain satisfaction in knowing I won. When we broke up, I went all out, deleted and blocked Jack from everywhere. Complete breakup protocol, but I left his number untouched, waiting to see who would break first. He did. I immediately took a screenshot and called up my bestie, Sarah Grimm. Guess who just texted me? Jack. She gasped, no way. What does he want? Obviously, he's realized how good he had it with me and is probably crying his eyes out right now. I opened his message, ready to read some heartfelt apology or something, and hit him with a quick TD, which stands for, too dumb, just my go, to respond to these situations. But when I saw the content, the smile froze on my face. Do you remember that lipstick you used to wear? What shade was it? I want to buy it for my crush. Wow, not only did he move on, but he's chasing some new girl already. Guess the joke's on me. Jack, always the smooth talker. I took 2 seconds and shot back. Oh, forgot. Why don't you ask one of your basketball teammates? He bought it for me. Then I shut off my phone. When I came back from washing dishes, I saw 99 plus notifications. Quote ? Anna, you better explain yourself. WTF? Which teammate? Who the hell is it? You better tell me. Where are you? Answer me, I'm begging you. Don't pretend you didn't see this. So, you're not going to tell me, huh? Jack's messages were flying in like they were free. I had no choice but to hit him with my ultimate move. I sent him a cheeky little emoji of a yellow bean sticking its tongue out, captioned, none of your business. The messages stopped for a moment. Then, Anna Carter, you wait, I'm coming to your house right now. Oh, someone's pissed. Chapter 2. Jack and I started dating back in college, but we broke up after graduation. He's a total contradiction. Before we dated, he had this cold, brooding, untouchable vibe. Once we started dating, though, that mouth of his turned sharp as a knife. If I took off my jacket, he'd say I looked like a bird spreading its wings. If I bent down to tie my shoes, he'd joke that I was a transformer. This untouchable guy turned out to have a real gift for being annoying. I ranted to Sarah about it, and she said it's just this thing now, boyfriends with unexpected contrast. Apparently, it's trendy. But, to be fair, Jack had his good points. For example, he did all my elective course assignments. He also somehow got me through calculus, which I'd have failed without his help. And even my thesis framework? All Jack's doing. It was so good it got voted outstanding thesis, and Jack stayed up late making the PowerPoint for my defense. The price of being an academic queen was that while Jack was killing it in his internship on Wall Street, I was just a lowly editor at a small studio. That's also when we started drifting apart. Jack was swamped with his internship at the investment firm, so we barely talked. I'd hear from him 2 or 3 times a week, which was a far cry from what we used to be. I got it, though. He was working hard to secure his future. But what really ticked me off was this one time he finally had some time to be with me. After we had an amazing time together, I wanted to lie there and just trace my fingers over his six-pack. But nope. Jack got up, grabbed his laptop, and went straight back to work. Talk about cold-heartedness. I lost it. I ripped off the necklace he bought me with his first paycheck and threw it at him. Jack, I want to break up. His face twisted, storm clouds gathering. Just thinking about it makes me shudder. Bad vibes. I lay down and tried to count sheep. Jack's cursed. Just as I was drifting off, my phone rang. I sat up straight. What? Jack's in the hospital? Was my wish that powerful? Should I buy a lottery ticket? Miss Carter, you should come to the hospital. It's not looking good. Chapter 3. I rushed to St. Thomas Hospital. The emergency department was packed with people. I finally found the VIP ward and pushed the door open. Jack looked up at the sound. His white shirt was stained with a large patch of blood, half of his body exposed, arm in a cast. Luckily, that pretty face of his was still intact. The doctor handed me the report. The patient was in a car accident. He's got severe abrasions on his back, a broken arm, and a concussion. That serious? Did he hit his head too? He's not going to have amnesia, is he? I walked over to Jack and asked if he still knew who he was. Jack stared at me for a long moment before shaking his head. Great. This kind of cheesy plot only happens in bad TV dramas. Now it's happening to me. The doctor sighed. Miss Carter, please go to the front desk to settle the bill. I blinked. But I barely know him. The doctor turned to Jack. Didn't you say she's your girlfriend? I shot him a glare. What's going on? Jack quietly pulled out his phone and showed the doctor a picture of us together. In the photo, we were all cozy, kissing in the throes of young love. As if that wasn't enough, he pulled up an old social media post from our college days, as the perfect campus couple. I couldn't believe he still had that. I had a sneaking suspicion Jack had been waiting for this exact moment to trap me. The doctor, convinced we were just a quarreling couple, waved it off and left. Now it was just the two of us in the room. I dropped the act. I don't have any money, so I'm leaving. Jack suddenly grabbed me, but he accidentally tugged at his injured back, letting out a low, pained hiss. That sound deep, restrained. Let's just say it didn't take much to make my mind go places, especially in the middle of the night, in a quiet hospital room. Jack, shameless as ever, gave me these big, sad puppy dog eyes. Babe, are we fighting? All the photos in my gallery are of you, and the chat logs are with you. Why can I only text you? I swear, Jack's face could make anyone weak. And now, with the added battle scars? It was almost too much. I clenched my hands to stop myself from swooning and said, Jack, are you seriously faking amnesia? How long have we been broken up? Jack's breathing hitched, and he let his hand fall. Babe, I'm not faking it. My memory might be foggy, but my love for you isn't. No matter what happened before, I'm sorry. Don't leave me, okay? I couldn't take it anymore. Even the strongest woman in the world wouldn't be able to resist Jack when he was being all soft and vulnerable. What, was he bankrupt now? Faking amnesia just to save on hospital bills? Jack pulled out his phone. Babe, can we at least add each other back on WhatsApp? I responded coldly, no way. Do you think you're on my level to even ask? Jack, unfazed, continued, babe, I'll transfer you 20 grand. Just pay the bill tonight, and you can keep the rest. I have to admit, I finally found a man with a soft heart and a fat wallet. Without hesitation, I pulled out my phone. All right, fine. Jack smiled in relief and scanned my WhatsApp. As soon as I walked out of the hospital, I called up Sarah and told her the entire weird story. Sarah immediately replied, he's faking it. He thinks life is some kind of soap opera. Be careful, girl, don't let that jerk fool you. I sent her a screenshot of the remaining balance, over 10 grand. Don't worry, I got the cash. I'll be gone by tomorrow. Playing Jack is easier than playing fetch with a dog. Sarah sent me a big thumbs up and a sharp review. Only a tough girl like you could handle someone like him. You're amazing, Anna. By the time I was done with everything, it was already past midnight. I figured I'd just crash at Jack's VIP hospital room for the night. It would save me from hearing him complain that I took the money and ran. Dragging my feet back to the room, I found Jack sitting there like a sad, abandoned puppy. The moment he saw me come back, his eyes lit up. You're back! Quote exclamation mark. Nodded and headed straight for the visitor's bed, pulling the blanket over myself. The silence in the room was thick, the kind that buzzes within spoken words. Jack broke it, his eyes boring into me. Babe, who's this teammate you mentioned in your text? I stiffened. I knew this was coming. Why did he buy you lipstick? What shade was it? I sat up abruptly. Of course, this was going to be a thing. When people are uncomfortable, they tend to fidget. I couldn't come up with a decent explanation because, well, his teammate really did buy me that lipstick. But still, we were broken up. Jack had no right to grill me about it. I shot back, I haven't even asked you about this crush you're chasing. How long have you been after her, huh? Were you into her before we broke up? Jack's face darkened immediately. I can't remember much right now, but I know one thing for sure, I never had a crush. Ah, so now we're playing the amnesia card again. I rolled my eyes and lay back down, opening up TikTok to distract myself. The algorithm must know me well because it immediately started showing me videos of ripped, shirtless guys with abs for days. I started tapping the little red hearts, drooling at the sight. I didn't even notice the way Jack's gaze was drilling holes into me. Finally, my phone flashed the low battery warning, and I turned to him. "Hey, did you bring a charger?" I wasn't really expecting him to have one, but to my surprise, Jack mumbled, "In my bag. Who brings a charger to the hospital?" Typical Jack, always prepared. I hopped out of bed to grab it from his bag. He had one of those fancy leather briefcases, the kind every finance guy on Wall Street seems to own. But what really caught my eye was the tiny peanut keychain hanging off the side, completely out of place with the rest of the bag. I smiled, remembering that I'd given him that keychain for his birthday. I'd told him it symbolized good things to come. He'd acted all annoyed when I gave it to him, but here it was, still with him after all this time. Damn it, memories were starting to hit me again. I quickly found the charger and jumped back into bed. The next morning, I woke up to something that nearly made me choke. There was Jack, squatting next to my bed, completely shirtless. And those abs? Right there in my face, all 8 of them, glistening in the morning light. No filters, no censorship. "Morning, babe, you're finally up, babe." Jack only used that word in certain situations. Yesterday, he'd been grossing me out with it all night. Now, we were doing this again? His face inched closer to mine, and I panicked. I shoved him away. "Seriously, dude? I haven't even brushed my teeth yet." Quote. Chapter 4. I never realized just how strong I was until that moment. Jack's tall frame, what, he's like 6 feet 2 inches. Fell right to the ground with just one push. Unfortunately, he landed on his injured arm and winced. That pain sound he made? It was, well, let's just say it made my heart skip a beat. Frantically, I jumped out of bed to help him up. My hand, completely on its own, managed to, accidentally, graze those glorious abs. Yep, still as firm and smooth as ever. Actually, they were even more defined than they had been back in college. Jack smirked, clearly enjoying this way too much. He grabbed my hand and pressed it against his abs, pushing my fingers along the ridges. With a low, seductive voice, he whispered in my ear, "You like them? I worked out just for you." Cue instant heart palpitations. My face flushed as I yanked my hand back. "Have you no shame?" Instead of getting angry, Jack burst out laughing, his grin so wide it practically reached the back of his head. This guy, did that car accident knock something loose in his brain? He was acting like a completely different person. Before I could say anything else, the nurse walked in, clearing her throat loudly. All right, let's get you patched up." I wanted to die from embarrassment. I bolted for the bathroom to get myself together. By the time I came back, Jack had finished his treatment, sitting there in his hospital gown with a lazy smile. The nurse handed me 2 tubes of ointment. "Apply these once a day." She turned to Jack, giving him a stern warning, and no strenuous activities. Jack winked at me as the nurse left, and I shot him a withering glare. I gathered up my things, though there wasn't much, just my phone. Jack, still looking pitiful, asked, "Babe, where are you going?" "To work." "But it's Saturday." I hesitated. Jack, ever persistent, pushed on, "I'm so badly injured, and I can't feed myself. Can't you stay and take care of me?" He was really laying it on thick now. I already asked the doctor. "You'll be out of here in 2 or 3 days. You're not exactly paralyzed." Still, Jack wouldn't let up. "Babe, how about this? I'll pay you $1,000 a day just to bring me food." I laughed, giving him a look. "Since when are you this loaded?" He shrugged. "I can't remember exactly, but judging by my bank statements, I'm probably making at least $1 million a year." I blinked. What the hell? I barely make $7,000 a month. The gap between us was wider than I thought. All right, fine, I guess it's a humanitarian effort. Jack's transfer was smoother than clockwork. Chapter 5. Back home. I took a long, hot shower, then collapsed onto my bed, trying to make sense of everything. The extra money in my account was making my head spin. When Jack and I broke up, he acted like I owed him something. I used to fantasize about somehow making him pay, getting one over on him. Well, now I've got the money. But somehow, it didn't feel as good as I thought it would. What Jack was doing didn't feel like some desperate act of love. It felt more like he was trying to set me up, like a silent assassin. I didn't tell Sarah about the money or anything else, she'd chew me out for sure. So, I buried myself in work to keep my mind off it. At mealtime, I ordered takeout for Jack, pretended I cooked it myself, and brought it to the hospital. Jack ate it up with enthusiasm and, for once, kept his mouth shut. He even complimented my cooking, saying it was great. One evening, while he was eating, I was busy working on a project. Suddenly, I heard a camera click. I looked up, frowning. One evening, while he was eating, I was busy working on a project. Suddenly, I heard a camera click. I looked up, frowning. Don't take pictures of me. Jack, of course, ignored me, looking smug as he admired his phone screen. I'm changing my wallpaper. The nurse thinks I'm single and keeps trying to set me up with her niece. I bit my lip, stealing a glance at his sharp profile. I wasn't stupid. I knew what Jack was doing. He was angling for a reunion, and I was starting to think maybe I should just let him have it, give him a way back into my life. But I needed to discuss it with Sarah first. But then, Jack slapped me with a reality check. And it hurt. A few days later, I arrived at the hospital about 30 minutes early to bring him dinner. As I reached the door to his room, I stopped dead in my tracks. There was Jack, hurriedly stripping off his suit jacket and slipping into his hospital gown. Standing next to him was a sophisticated woman, with soft, wavy hair and a form-fitting business suit that emphasized her figure. She moved with an ease that suggested they were familiar, too familiar. She was helping him with his tie, her hands brushing against his neck. "Slow down, no need to rush," she said softly. The way they stood together, the comfortable closeness, it was clear they were more than casual acquaintances. Jack didn't even seem to notice the intimacy of it all, letting her touch him like it was completely natural. I let out a bitter laugh, turned on my heel, and walked away. I had been playing. Twice. If I ever let Jack back into my life again, I'd be a fool. Chapter 6. After blocking Jack for good, I went straight to the convenience store, bought a case of beer, and headed over to Sarah's place. We ordered the most expensive sushi we could find and ate until we couldn't move. Sarah looked at me, concerned. "So, what happened to Jack?" I put on a brave face but couldn't stop the tears from welling up. "Don't even mention him. He's dead to me." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Well, good riddance. I'll find you someone better. There's always tomorrow." My eyes lit up. "Really?" Sarah, always the reliable rich girl with connections, grinned. "Yep, I've got this friend from high school. He's tall, like 6'3", and ridiculously handsome. He's been bugging me to introduce him to someone." She pulled out her phone to show me his picture. The guy had a clean, cut face, sharp features, and a smile like sunshine. Totally different from Jack. "If you don't like him, we'll hit a bar tomorrow. There are plenty of guys out there." "If you don't like him, we'll hit a bar tomorrow. There are plenty of guys out there." No, this one's fine. Let's set it up for tomorrow." At that moment, I needed someone, anyone, to help heal my bruised heart. Sarah gave me a comforting pat on the back. Back in college, she'd been our biggest fan. She even took all those lovey-dovey photos of me and Jack. After we broke up, she was the one who sat by me as I cried, cursing him until we'd torn him to metaphorical shreds. Best friend ever? That's Sarah Grimm. The next day, I dressed up in a simple but elegant white dress. I wanted to match this guy's style, hoping for a fresh start. I arrived at La Grande Boucherie half an hour early. When I walked in, I spotted him immediately. He looked even better in person. "Thank you, Jack, for being the jerk that pushed me into this." The guy stood up as I approached, pulling out my chair for me. His voice was deep, smooth, like a cello. "Anna Carter, right? I'm Mark Dean. Nice to meet you, Mark." We hit it off right away. We talked about everything from environmental issues to Shakespeare to Bill Gates. Just as I thought I'd successfully pushed Jack out of my mind, Mark said, "You know, you remind me a lot of my ex." I nearly spit out my drink. "Excuse me?" Mark, looking a little sheepish, apologized. "Sorry, I didn't mean to bring her up. It's just you reminded me of her all of a sudden." I dabbed at my shirt with a napkin, trying to brush it off. "No worries. You want to talk about it? What kind of first date was this? Listening to some guy talk about his ex?" Mark seemed relieved to have someone to confide in. He launched into the story eagerly. "She was my first love. We met while studying abroad, grocery shopping together, cooking in our little apartment. When we graduated, I proposed to her under the Eiffel Tower. I thought I'd found my forever. But when we got back to the US, my parents wouldn't accept her. I fought for her, but eventually, I gave up. I didn't want to drag her through it anymore, so I broke it off. I still regret it to this day." I sighed, half joking. "What, your family royalty or something?" Mark shook his head. "No, nothing like that. My parents are just old, school, government workers. They didn't like that she wasn't from around here. I laughed. Seriously? You were the one marrying her, not your parents, Mark nodded. You're right, but at the time, I couldn't break free from their control. Looking back, I realize I wasn't good enough for her. I couldn't argue with that. I knew the feeling well, being at the mercy of other people's control. I was still getting monthly donations from my parents just to make ends meet. I was lost in thought when suddenly, my wrist was grabbed, and I found myself yanked out of my seat and into a firm embrace. I smelled the familiar scent of woodsy cologne and looked up to see Jack. He was dressed to the nines in a sleek business suit, with his left arm still in a cast. His right arm pulled me tightly against him. Seriously? This guy just wouldn't stay dead. My wrist throbbed in his grip as I tried to wriggle free, but Jack just smirked, his voice a mix of annoyance and amusement. You were laughing earlier, weren't you? Why so quiet now that you've seen me? His warm breath brushed against my ear, sending a shiver down my spine. Mark, seeing what was going on, stood up to intervene. Who are you? Jack's grip tightened on my shoulder. He flashed a polite smile, but his eyes were sharp as knives. She's my girlfriend. Who are you? Mark's eyes went wide. Wait, what's happening here? I jumped in, frantic. Ex-boyfriend. He's my ex-boyfriend. Great. Tomorrow I'll be trending as crazy ex-girlfriend drama on social media. Jack's smirk widened into a cold, knowing smile. He grabbed my hand and started dragging me out of the restaurant, his long legs moving fast. I pounded on his back, trying to get him to stop. Jack, have you lost your mind? Let me go or I'll call the cops. This is kidnapping. Jack, of course, didn't even flinch. He simply held on tighter. When we reached his car, he practically shoved me into the passenger seat. I immediately reached for the door handle, but Jack blocked me with his long legs, giving me a warning glare. Anna, if you try to leave, I'll send your embarrassing photos to everyone. Chapter 7. Jack's foot hit the gas, and the car shot down the road at over 100 miles an hour. My palms were sweaty, and I was too scared to say a word. We stopped at his apartment building. Jack dragged me out of the car, into the elevator, and all the way to his front door in one smooth motion. He pushed me up against the door, his breath hot on my neck. With a swift rip, my white dress was torn in his hands. I snapped, grabbing him by the ear. That dress cost over $1,000. He didn't even blink. I'll pay for it. Then, before I could react, Jack kissed me hard. He kissed me like a man possessed, teeth and all, and the metallic taste of blood filled my mouth. What was this, dog behavior? If you're going to kiss me, do it right. My mouth's not some chew toy. With my free hand, I pinched the soft skin at his waist, hard. Jack hissed in pain and finally let go. In the darkness, he pressed his forehead against my shoulder, panting. His voice was a low, frustrated growl. Anna, do you even have a heart? Wait, what? Was it me who lacked feelings, or him? I was in the hospital, recovering, and you were out having dinner with another man? Laughing and smiling? He let out a cold laugh. Just a reminder. We broke up a year ago. Jack lifted his head to meet my eyes, looking both angry and hurt. Are you really that blind, or just pretending? Can't you see I want to get back together? The room froze for a moment. That one sentence hit me like a punch to the gut. When we broke up, I cried until I couldn't breathe. The suffocating feeling of heartbreak washed over me again. There's nothing worse than realizing someone's affection comes too late. I forced a smile. You've got your crush, don't you? She can take care of you. I saw her at the hospital. By the way. Jack fell silent for a second, probably remembering what I'd seen. I tried to push him off again, but Jack pinned me back to the door. That was my aunt, Anna. My real aunt. Her son's older than me. She treats me like her own kid. Rich people sure age well, huh? And I don't have any crush. The amnesia thing? That was fake. All of it was just an excuse to see you. I searched Jack's face for any sign of deception. But his eyes were sincere, clear. There was something oddly satisfying about hearing a stubborn man admit to his manipulative tricks. Suppressing the urge to smile, I said, all right. Let me go. I'm heading home. Jack didn't release me. I'm actually injured though. Could you help me with my meta? I can't reach the wounds on my back. My face turned red as I instantly pictured him half naked in the hospital bed. Fine, but you take your own clothes off. I swear I'm not a perv. I just, couldn't resist checking out his abs. Ahem, let's call it pity. The guy seems so pathetic. Jack disappeared into the bedroom, and I could hear the sounds of fabric rustling. When I finally walked in, I nearly had a nosebleed. Jack was standing there, shirtless, in nothing but his suit pants, the belt hanging loosely around his waist. Broad shoulders, narrow waist, impossibly long legs. I stood in the doorway, completely frozen, until Jack called out, "What are you doing? Get in here." I wiped my nose, thankfully no blood, and stepped forward cautiously. "Can you put a shirt on, please?" Broad daylight, and this is how he acts. Where are his manners? Jack ran a hand over his abs, smirking as he asked, "How am I supposed to put on a shirt if you need to treat my back?" His grin widened. "Don't tell me you're getting flustered?" I absolutely refused to admit anything. I forced my gaze to the side, muttering, "Do whatever you want." Jack's injuries had healed pretty well, so I just needed to disinfect the wound and apply some cream. It took about 10 minutes, and I threw away the cotton swabs. As I stared at his strong back muscles, I found myself tempted to reach out and poke them. I told myself it was because I'd gone too long without a proper distraction. The more I looked at Jack, the more annoyingly attractive he seemed. Whatever. I wasn't going to get played again. I turned to leave just as my phone rang. It was Mark. I hesitated, unsure if I should answer. Before I could make up my mind, Jack snatched the phone from my hand and answered it himself. "What the hell, Jack?" Mouthed a string of insults at him, frantically trying to grab my phone back. Jack calmly held me off with one arm, speaking into the phone like he owned the place. "She's with her boyfriend, what do you think happened? What, you thought she could just say it's over and that's it? Clearly, you don't get it, she's in the shower right now." "I can't talk." "Yeah, send me your bank account info, dinner's on me, and one more thing, don't make a fool of yourself." He hung up the phone and turned to face me, looking absurdly pleased with himself. I blinked, still in shock. Was I supposed to thank him? "You're out of your mind, Jack. Do you realize that was Sarah's friend? How am I supposed to face them after this?" I frantically texted Sarah, telling her to smooth things over with Mark. Jack took my phone from me, again. Then, out of nowhere, he pulled me into a tight hug, his head nuzzling into my neck. "Doesn't matter. You've got me now. No more awkward blind dates for you." I snapped back, "Who said we're getting back together?" He leaned closer, his breath hot against my skin. "I've already gone this far. Don't you think you should take responsibility? And where exactly are you going in that torn-up dress?" I shot him a death glare. "Excuse me? Did I rip my own dress?" Jack smirked. "I tore the dress. But what about the bite mark on my shoulder? Did I bite myself? You started it, but after that, I was speechless. There wasn't a single part of this conversation I could win. Jack had always been the king of debates. In college, I could never beat him in an argument. Sensing my frustration, he leaned in and kissed the sensitive spot on my neck, the one that always made me squirm. I sighed and closed my eyes. In my head, I chanted, free male model as things were heating up. A thought suddenly crossed my mind. I pushed Jack away and turned his face toward me. "You didn't see anyone else while we were apart, did you?" I wasn't about to take back a guy who'd been with someone else. Jack hesitated for a split second, then scoffed. "Are you kidding? I barely had time to sleep. Where would I even find another woman?" I wasn't entirely convinced, but when Jack got physical, he definitely erased any doubts I had. Jack acted like he hadn't been with a woman in years. By the time we finished, I was sprawled on the bed, panting like I'd run a marathon, barely able to stay conscious. Fighting to keep my eyes open, I asked, "Why were you so quiet just now?" Usually, Jack wouldn't stop with the dirty talk, but tonight he'd been strangely silent. I was counting. What? *532. The next morning, I woke up first. I wasn't used to seeing Jack still asleep next to me. I tiptoed to the bathroom, grabbed one of his shirts and some pants, and went inside to freshen up. Staring at my reflection, I combed my hair, my mind racing. What did I do last night? I hadn't even been drinking, yet I'd acted like I was wasted. What a mess. I wasn't about to let Jack rope me back in. Not again. I splashed cold water on my face, slipped into his clothes, and wrote him a quick note. Had too much to drink last night. Let's just pretend it. As for the clothes, they were payment for the dress he'd ruined. I spent the whole day at work, distracted and out of sorts. My phone kept buzzing with calls and texts from unknown numbers, but I didn't have the courage to check them. As soon as work was over, I went straight to Sarah's place. She studied my glowing face and smooth skin, raising an eyebrow. "You look like you just got a deluxe facial treatment." I mumbled through a mouthful of mac and cheese, recounting the whole story, minus the steamy details. Sarah looked at me like I'd lost my mind. You ran away? Are you serious? You know how much women pay for a night like that? I rolled my eyes. Sarah, haven't you heard the saying? No one ever comes back just to love you the way they did before. Sarah facepalmed, sighing. TikTok's ruined you. Look, I've cursed Jack out as much as anyone, but honestly, he's the kind of guy you'd be lucky to find again. Guys like him are rare. I kept munching away, unconvinced. You've just been out of the game too long. Jack raised your standards so high, and he's shielded you from the horrors of dating these days. Take last night with Mark, for example. That's what's out there. I knew she was right. Logically, I understood, but there was still a part of me that couldn't get past it. I just don't feel like Jack really loves me. Why'd he wait a whole year to come find me? It's like he wandered around, realized no one else would put up with him, and came crawling back because I'm easy to fool. Sarah sighed. Alright, love has to be mutual for it to work. If you can't get over that, fine. There are other guys out there, but what are you gonna do about Jack? You can't just leave him hanging after, well, you know. I slurped up the last of my food and shrugged. He's not going to find me here, is he? As if summoned by my words, Sarah's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, eyes wide, and rushed out of the room. Anna, Jack's calling. Quote exclamation mark. Waved my hands wildly, mouthing, tell him I'm not here. From the other room, I heard Jack's calm voice. I know she's with you. Put her on the phone. Oh God. Sarah, ever the opportunist, dumped the call on me and bolted from the room. I picked up the phone, my voice shaking like a kid who'd just been caught sneaking out. Hello? Jack's voice was cold, unreadable. Unblock me. Send me your address. I'm coming to get you. I tried to keep my voice steady. That won't be necessary. The note I left explains everything. Jack gave a low chuckle. I can't pretend nothing happened. Send me your address. I'm on my way, and Anna? Don't make me find Sarah's address on my own. I squeezed my eyes shut. Of course, Jack could figure it out. He was a problem, and I didn't want Sarah caught up in it. I gave him the name of Sarah's neighborhood. The moment I hung up, I steeled myself. This was going to be the end. Within minutes, Jack's car was outside the apartment, honking insistently like some sort of impatient alarm clock. I quickly threw on a jacket and headed downstairs. Sarah wanted to come with me for backup, but I stopped her. It's fine. I'll be back soon. Okay, but if things get heated, call me. Chapter 8. I headed downstairs, spotting Jack's Maybach parked outside. I got in and closed the door. Jack's eyes were locked on me, lips pressed into a tight line. Pulling my jacket tighter around me, I asked, all right, what do you want? Why did you run off this morning? Was last night not satisfying? Jack always had a way of turning any normal conversation into something filthy. I stayed calm on the outside, but inside, I was panicking. Jack, I'm serious. I don't think we should keep doing this. It's been a year since we broke up. We've both been fine without each other. Clearly, we don't belong together. Jack listened, and after I finished, he pulled out a cigarette, but then hesitated and put it back. He let out a long sigh. You've been doing fine? Well, I haven't. I looked at him, confused. Millionaire finance guy with a fancy job and car, and he's been suffering? Who's he trying to fool? Then Jack pulled a file from the glove compartment and handed it to me. Open it. I slowly opened the file, revealing a red property deed. What is this? In the dim light of the car, Jack cleared his throat. Let's go back to when we broke up. Do you remember the necklace you threw at me? I clenched the fabric of my jacket. Yeah, it was a gift from you. Jack raised an eyebrow at me, waiting. I quickly added, you bought it with your first paycheck from your internship. He nodded. It wasn't just any necklace. It had a jade pendant that's been passed down in my family since my great-grandmother. Suddenly, I felt like I needed to get on my knees and apologize. I remembered that necklace hitting the floor, the sound of it shattering. Oh no, was it ruined? I couldn't afford to pay for something like that even if I sold myself. I gave it to you because I thought you were the one. Jack's confession came out of nowhere, making me feel a wave of guilt. He turned to stare out the window. When you threw it at me, I didn't feel anything at first. But later, I started thinking, was I really that bad? What did I do to make you say dating me was pointless? I lowered my head, my voice barely above a whisper. That's not it. You were always busy with work. I was frustrated and said it in the heat of the moment. It wasn't that you were bad. Jack took a deep breath. Do you have any idea how much it hurts to hear that from you? You didn't just crush my pride, Anna. You crushed our relationship. I knew I was in the wrong. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Suddenly, Jack grabbed my face, his voice rising. I'm not telling you this to get an apology, Anna. I'm trying to have a real conversation about what happened between us. I pulled his hands away, feeling a surge of emotion building inside me. I know, but have you ever thought about how I felt? You barely talked to me, using your job as an excuse to ignore me. Do you have any idea how lonely I felt? You went silent during the breakup, and now you're yelling at me like I owe you something. Tears started spilling down my face, and I couldn't stop them. Jack quickly handed me a tissue, but one wasn't enough. He had to give me a few more. So you've hated me this whole time? He asked softly. I glared at him through my tears. You've been a jerk. Why wouldn't I? Jack quietly wiped my tears, guilt written all over his face. I was overwhelmed with work during my internship, and I couldn't keep up. So when you asked to break up, I agreed. But I told myself I'd only come back for you when I could give you everything you deserve. He paused for a moment, then continued. This past year, I've been promoted and worked like a maniac. I bought my first apartment in full, with no mortgage. My mind went blank. I flipped open the red deed in my hands, seeing Jack Hart's name in bold. How did you afford to buy a place outright? Did your family help you out? I couldn't help but think back to Mark's story about how his family interfered in his relationship. Jack shook his head. No, I have other investments too. I was genuinely impressed. Sarah was right. Jack wasn't the kind of guy you easily replaced. Still, I needed to keep some composure. Okay, but how do I know you're not just saying all this? I want to transfer the apartment to your name, he said simply. I stared at him, dumbfounded. Isn't that only possible for married couples or family members? Jack's next words hit me like a truck. That's why I want to marry you. Will you? My mouth hung open in shock. I swear, it wasn't about the money. I even wondered if Jack needed to see a doctor, either for his eyes or his head. No one gets this lucky without having stepped in something. I'm really confused right now. Can you give me some time to think about it? Jack shrugged. Sure. Take all the time you need. I'll wait until tomorrow morning for your answer. I made my way back upstairs, still in shock, my mind spinning. As soon as I walked through the door, Sarah pounced. So, what did you guys talk about? You were down there for ages. Sarah, you were right, I mumbled. Huh? Jack's offering me a condo. Over 100 square meters, all paid off. Sarah's jaw dropped. Both of us just sat there, staring at each other in stunned silence. Finally, Sarah snapped out of it. I knew it. I saw his background file. His family's rich. If he's offering you a place, just go for it. But what if his parents don't approve? Do you remember what Mark told me about his ex? I asked, worried. Sarah waved it off. Mark was an idiot. Jack's in a completely different league. That night, I decided to take Jack off my blocked contacts list. Turns out, he hadn't deleted me. We were already back on each other's friend lists. The next morning, I was awoken by a loud knocking on my door. Who on earth was disturbing my sleep this early? Still half asleep, I checked the peephole. It was Jack. Suddenly, I was wide awake. I quickly opened the door. What are you doing here? Jack blinked, surprised at my disheveled appearance in cartoon pajamas. He cleared his throat. I brought breakfast. I let him in, still groggy. Jack had brought enough food for both me and Sarah. After serving myself, I left the other portion for her. Jack didn't waste time. So, have you made up your mind? Where's your family register? His tone told me he was not playing around. I decided to be honest and stop fighting it. It's at my place. Let's go. Jack's Maybach roared down the road as we headed to City Hall. I was still in a daze, staring at the leather seats like an idiot. Did you pay for this car in full too? Jack's long fingers drummed on the steering wheel. Nope, this one's on a payment plan. When we arrived, the hall was already buzzing with couples getting ready to tie the knot. The joy on everyone's faces was contagious. We sat on the long bench outside, waiting for our turn. Out of nowhere, Jack reached over and grabbed my hand. His touch was warm, sending sparks through me. He smiled. Did your parents agree to us getting married? Mark's story about his overbearing parents flashed through my mind, and I needed reassurance. Jack gave me a puzzled look. Why wouldn't they? It's not like they're the ones getting married. They haven't meddled in my business since I started working. I felt a weight lift off my chest. Money really does solve a lot of problems. Jack glanced at me again. What about your parents? Should we check with them? I never told them we broke up, so I doubt it'll be a problem, I trailed off. Jack's grin grew even wider. After we signed the papers and got our marriage certificate, I was practically floating on air. But then I looked over at Jack, and he was crying. People around us started staring. It looked like I'd forced him into marriage. Panicking, I patted his shoulder. Why are you crying? What's wrong? I felt a weight lift off my chest. Money really does solve a lot of problems. Jack glanced at me again. What about your parents? Should we check with them? I never told them we broke up, so I doubt it'll be a problem, I trailed off. Jack's grin grew even wider. After we signed the papers and got our marriage certificate, I was practically floating on air. But then I looked over at Jack, and he was crying. People around us started staring. It looked like I'd forced him into marriage. Panicking, I patted his shoulder. Why are you crying? What's wrong? Jack wiped his tears on my shirt collar, finally revealing his true, mischievous self. It was way too hard getting you to marry me. I pinched his waist playfully. There'll be harder things to come, I promise. If you regret this, we can always get a divorce. Jack held my hand and pulled out a diamond ring from his pocket. Carefully, he slid it onto my finger, then kissed the back of my hand, his eyes still wet. Never. I'll never regret this. The end. And that's a wrap on today's reading here at Booked for Drama. If you felt anything, rage, swoon, secondhand heartbreak, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your fellow drama lovers. If you have any requests, drop them in the comments. Until next time, keep reading, and keep the drama on the page.